then your plane will smash. There's a lot of things that helicopter pilots have to worry about. One of them was not me.
And how much training did they give you back on the stateside with helicopters?
I had about a month down in, actually it was a month of artillery school, but that included, L8 training, which is a forward observer, FO, that's the guy I was talking about. The FO who was, you train how to shoot your rounds in practice and how you do it overseas and what you're looking for. And I just shot the shit out of everything. I did. I got pretty good at it. Was pretty cocky about where I was shooting, how I was shooting, and how fast I could bring the rounds on target.
You flew down in Pensacola, didn't you, 1 year at the academy?
Pardon me, Pat?
Didn't you fly down in Pensacola?
Yes, I did. That was the training.
Did you do helicopter training there? Or
Yeah, we did, but very little helicopter training. Don't ask me why. It was probably the Marine Corps was more interested in you learning about history than I was, than he was, or they were in the operation of the vehicle, which I found hard to believe, but sure came across that way.
Did they drop you into some hot landing zones?
Yes, a couple of hot zones. And you want to get in and get out as soon as you get in. But what happens is they'll lay flat. You don't know they're there, and then they've arise once the choppers start flying away. So they've got little time to recover. The choppers have put a beautiful spread of bead of rifles, bullets around the weapon, around the
landing zone.
Thank you. The river zone, landing zone, and we just get away with that. And we get out of the hot zone pretty quickly, as quickly as we can get out of there.
There were some flat spots in Vietnam.
What?
Reading about Afghanistan, it sounded like it was sheer mountains they were trying to
these are
land on.
They're sheer mountains. They really are. I've never been there, but you talk to any of the guys who've been there. It's just one rock on top of the next.
Yeah, where Marcus Luttrell was. Yep, that sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
How much weight were you carrying usually?
How much weight was I carrying? 30 pounds maybe. I cut it down to next to nothing. And you pack your water. Take your brigade, your fire lighter, whatever you could use to do that. If you get away to doing it, if you can do it at night, fine. If you can do it during the day, better. And you eat your
Sea rats?
and Max, what do they call them? Sea rats.
Sea rats.
Sea rats. You eat your sea rats, and that was it.
How many days could you? What was
1 day,
typical?
I think typically it was 1 day every day, one meal every day.
Would you carry enough to be out in the field for 2 days?
2 or 3 days, yeah.
2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
They sound pretty horrible.
I just remember, what's that, Pat?
Scrambled eggs in a can.
That was bad. That was bad stuff.
How far away from the base at Anwa would they?
5 to 10 miles.
5 to 10 miles. So if you had to hump it back,
you could hump it back easily enough, but whether you could do it and be surrounded by bad guys,
yep,
is another story. Which didn't happen very often to us. So
over the course of a year, did you get to know the terrain in
yes,
that area pretty
really
well?
Did. I do it damn well. I could put it on the back of my hand right now. On the floor of my hand. I bet I could. I just went to think I could do it for sure. Well, I think I should be able to.
Yeah.
So.
How big was the base at Anwa? How many men were usually stationed there?
Battalion there, say battalion 5th Marines. So they had about.
So 400 to 600 men.
Yeah, 400 to 600 riflemen, right? And they were supporting.
How many men were in your tent?
Well, my tent was, there were 10 of us in the tent, or maybe 8 of us, I can't remember. But there would be, you'd have 2 guys going out with every company except me. I went out with 1 guy and 2 other guys from the, they had a special situation set up for me, which was nice. And I could basically fire at anything I saw that looked like it was moving, and looked like it was moving towards us. So, take a shot.
And And were there a lot of snipers?
Yes.
And so
When I say a lot,
they'd harass you guys on a
Yeah,
regular basis?
on a regular basis, we had a guy out by Fulak 6, which was a place, a little base camp we operated. You know, it had maybe 30 or 40 Marines there and a couple of machine gunners and whatever. And they would poke around with their weapon and they'd defend us at night and during the day. And we would run patrols out from that. It's like being in a patrol situation in the New York Police Department. You go into a new precinct, you start up the new precinct, you got to arm it, you got to eat it, you know, the whole thing. So they would do that. I want to make sure I don't mix up my facts. I think
Mm-hmm. So those were the guys at Fulak 6.
like 6. They were. That's the one where you had the French lady editor or writer for Le Monde, LOMMOND
Mm-hmm.
magazine. Was a pretty big French magazine.
Yeah, Le Monde, sure.
So she came on patrol with us.
Photographer? Or?
The photographer, the lady. She came on patrol with us. That I think she let herself be captured. She showed up captured, and showed up captured for I don't know maybe 2 weeks. And she made some Chinese broadcasts or communist broadcasts, and it was kind of funny. But
Huh.
what they did was they set her up. They recaptured her. Let's put it that way. But you can imagine, here you are sitting on some dumper 13 miles from home, and some girl from Paris, France, sits on this tube, a wooden horse, if you will, takes a dump. You know, you go, what the heck? What is going on here? Am I fighting? It didn't make any sense. So anyhow, that was that.
Yeah, I imagine that would leave an impression. That is out of context.
She was a pretty good-looking woman. But anyhow, that was that.
Did you see a lot of war correspondents, a lot of photographers and
No.
media, or
No.
not so much?
No, we operated, unless you get into trouble and you get into a huge concentration of Vietnamese attacking a huge concentration of Americans, or vice versa. You don't have, every day was a step-by-step day, and take it to firepower. Try to start taking incoming fire, as you go on your patrol. And that'll happen maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, usually when you're getting ready to retire. Bad guys dump some crap on you. And it's just kind of marching along, looking for the bad guys, patrolling the area. And the only thing I can draw a conclusion to the subject situation is the policemen in New York City who go in and open a new precinct. That's what we were doing at Fulak 6. We would go out to another place, I can't think of the name, and we'd set up a post out there. So we'd keep extending our area of influence. Very good to think of, but at any time those guys wanted to take us down, they could easily do it because they could surround us.
They had numbers.
Put some bad, yeah. But that didn't happen as much as I thought it would, which was good. That we didn't.
Yeah, that is good. And your area around Anhua was like, we hear about much of Vietnam, lots of rice.
No, you don't hear much about Vietnam, about Anhua.
What was the terrain like?
The terrain was flat until you hit the Anton Mountains, or I can't remember. Let's see, but it went out flat, and then it was beautiful in the flats. But as we went up into the countryside, up into the woods, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
it was great. I loved looking around. I didn't take any pictures or anything like that. I thought that would be ridiculous. Here I am at a cab on, so taking my company's pictures. You know.
Yep.
So.
It's
Our area would have been. They wrote an article on it. It's called Anton Valley, right? I'll have to get that out and find it someplace. But it's about Senator James Webb, who patrolled in that area for a year before I got there. He left and I went. Or no, I went and then he came. He came a year after I did. Right? He came after the dirty work. We screwed up. It was kind of interesting.
Was there Was there a pattern with the time of the year to the conflict? You know, in Afghanistan, a lot of times as the summer, the warm months approach, I think the troops expect more combat, more engagements, and it slows down in the cold winter months. Was winter cold in Vietnam, or?
It's monsoon season,
Yep.
which would be about November through January, February. I don't. It's off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I remember when the rice grew and when it didn't grow, and so on and so forth. But it was I think the terrain there and the the ability to fight, bring contact against the enemy is good. You should have weapons that fire, and they ought to be able to be cleaned every couple of days, every day or so.
And were you calling in fire from Anhoi or?
From Anhoi.
Yeah.
So it's cutting the angle. Be over here run around over here for another round, and then you blow them up.
There was no fire from ships offshore.
We had a fire up a ship from shore once. It's called an anlock or something like that. A-lock machine. I did not bring the guy in. Somebody else brought him in. In fact, it was a Air Force FAC, forward air controller, brought it in. So
How are the comm systems? Could you communicate pretty well on your radios?
well, we were terrible at first. We had Korean War, PRC-9s they were called, and you had to balance the frequency in order to get them to tune in. So you turn this one to someone up where you can hear, and then you try to bring this one in. Beep, beep, beep. Meanwhile, the guys will shoot your ass off, trying to put a hole in you while you're sitting there trying to. And the phones didn't work half the percent of the time, particularly if you got within 1,500 to 2,000 meters away from the hooch, from the house. You're gone. You don't have any more contact. Contact was lousy.
So for the year you were over there, you had crap contact.
Well, that'd be a good destruction. Good.
You had about 1 mile away from the base, and then you were on your own.
Right. If it's line of sight, forget it. It'll just bump into the transmitters in each area. What else have we?
What about planes?
Planes were great.
Could you call in strikes from?
Yeah, big
from
call
off?
strikes from.
So would that be when you would talk to somebody on a ship, or were they coming from a base someplace
They're coming
else?
from the base. They all came out of Anhoi. And, that's what we did. We did everything out of Anhoi. And Anhoi did a little bit of it, and a lot of it was done by Da Nang, where we kept our squadron commander, here kind of guys.
What kind of planes could you call up?
A4s and F4s. A4 is attack single seat guy that goes about 400 miles an hour. It's very slow, but it's great for digging people out of the dirt. You come in, fly behind them. These guys drop a belly bomb on them, which is it's the holding stuff that gets greasy all over you. It sticks. Just terrible, terrible pain. So I'm told. And I dropped a lot of that around the VC who were surrounding us at this time. I dropped a lot of rounds on them over 2 or 3 periods that that I had the opportunity to zap them. That sounds terrible, but it was terrible.
Really?
So the whole thing. So anyhow, we did that, and
So A4s and F4s.
A4s and F4s. F4 was a single seat, double seat, single seat with dual exit points. I don't know what you call those, but you're. So anyhow, they'd come out of there like hell, and they'd run 2 of them side by side. The Air Force would, and they just fly out like this. Then of course they'd meet the Navy guys out at sea someplace, and then they coordinate an attack and go in. Stupidest thing we ever did, but. And then, you'd set up your targets, and away they'd go.
And
Targets
they
would
were safe in your area from anti-aircraft kind of weaponry. Is that right? No.
We never had any problem there because they don't want to get those carriers in any kind of problems. just don't want them to get in problems. That's $10 billion worth of whatever. 10
Yep.
billion, whatever it is. It's some big, huge number.
Big number
Yeah.
for a plane. Yep. How did they get you guys some news of what was going on back in the States? I mean, did you give a
Yeah.
damn other than the football games?
Yeah. I think there's been a lot written about
Army
it.
Navy game.
What's that, Kate?
Mom said the Army Navy game. We know you guys probably got to figure out how to listen to that.
Vote on that.
Yeah, that's a big game this year. Last year and the year before, all the same. I feel badly for the West Point guys. Ho, ho, ho. Bit badly, yeah.
You did feel bad for them.
I did.
I mean, there's,
Was it 14 years in a row?
you can't completely take away all their hope.
What's that? Whose hope is this?
Army's hope.
Oh,
It's now their hope, their faith is now restored.
Yeah, you got to be ready.
my experiences in Vietnam were sort of blip options. You'd see a blip of photography opportunity, you took it. And you have another blip over here. You didn't have one big bloody, you didn't have a hill attacking another hill to knock the Chinese off this hill so that you could take that hill and move on to the next hill. That was more like
You
a complete set infantry battle.
did you,
And,
did you get mortared?
Yes. You want to know why, Russ?
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because, see who got it wrong. Oh, it must have been our, he had to be with me, but he wasn't with me. Must have been before I got there. I wouldn't have done anything this stupid. The guy fired out, and he fired on his own people. So, and that, I did the same thing, but when mine landed, they were 180 degrees off, so it didn't matter. I was totally clear. But the other guy dropped his rounds, and he went in on the platoon. Remember they were.
Yeah.
And he got his ass chewed left, right, sideways. Guaranteed non-membership in Marine Corps history exam. So that's that for him.
Well, were the
Hi. Hello.
You know,